You slept 10 hours and somehow woke up feeling like your soul got hit by a truck? Congratulations, you have discovered one of depression's most disrespectful features. The more sleep you get, the worse your fatigue feels. Because apparently the body saw extra rest and interpreted it as, great, we're dying now. Shut everything down. A lot of people assume depression means your body needs more sleep, like it's a low battery warning. Reasonable idea. Wrong. Because when depression brings hypersomnia, what you're getting usually isn't healing sleep. It's more like your brain's snooze button becomes a full-time job. The result is excessive sleep, daytime fog, heavy limbs, and the deeply cursed sensation of waking up more tired than before you went to bed, which feels illegal. Your body somehow turns 10 hours into negative energy, like you borrowed tiredness from tomorrow. That's because in psychiatry, oversleeping is often not a solution. It's a symptom of poor mental health and mood regulation itself. The brain says, I feel bad, therefore more sleep must fix it. But depression says, best I can do is more fatigue. So now you're stuck in this loop. Sleep more leads to feel worse, leads to assume you need more sleep, leads to sleep more. This is basically the Netflix autoplay of mental illness. And weirdly, one of the most powerful forms of psychiatric treatment for this isn't more sleep. It's literally the opposite, sleep deprivation, which sounds fake. And also like advice from the world's most dangerous productivity influencer, but this is real chronotherapy, specifically called wake therapy. The basic discovery was horrifyingly simple. Keep a depressed person awake long enough and the depression symptoms can temporarily lift. Like your brain accidentally forgets to be sad. For a brief moment, your emotional state can improve dramatically. Researchers noticed rapid antidepressant effects, sometimes within 24 to 36 hours of wakefulness. Which is insane, because most antidepressant medication takes weeks. Meanwhile, your sleep schedule gets bullied once, and suddenly your brain remembers how serotonin works. The reason this happens comes down to your circadian rhythm, also known as the sleep-wake cycle, also known as the body clock, also known as the tiny invisible dictator ruining your mornings. Deep in your brain is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the biological pacemaker controlling light sensitivity, melatonin, body temperature, and neurotransmitter secretion. Basically, the world's most important microscopic office manager. When depression messes with this system, your sleep timing drifts, your mood regulation suffers, and suddenly your bed starts feeling like a gravitational singularity. So oversleeping doesn't restore the system, sometimes it reinforces the broken rhythm, which is why bright light therapy works so well with wake therapy. The brain sees morning light exposure and goes, oh right, we're a human. We operate on sunlight. A light box in the morning can help reset the circadian system like hard rebooting a lagging laptop, except the laptop is your emotional stability. One of the most famous methods is the Benedetti protocol, which honestly sounds less like depression treatment and more like a mafia sleep experiment. This involves a 1-week treatment block where patients go through alternating periods of 36-hour wakefulness, followed by recovery sleep and repeated morning light exposure. It's basically forcing your sleep schedule to reinstall Windows. And somehow it works. For mild depression and moderate depression, this can create a shockingly fast antidepressant response. Even some cases of severe depression improve. Though this is where practical barriers start showing up. Because telling someone with severe fatigue and daytime sleepiness to stay awake for 36 hours is like telling someone drowning to try swimming harder. Possible, but extremely rude. This is why treatment adherence is one of the biggest problems. It requires discipline, structure, and ideally supervision. Otherwise, around 3 a.m., you're half-conscious, aggressively eating cereal, and trying to convince yourself this is self-improvement. People often use caffeine to stay functional. Some use Provigil for alertness under medical supervision. Because the real enemy is that 4 a.m. wave of daytime tiredness spilling into nighttime existence, where your brain starts buffering reality. For unipolar depression, the response can be especially strong. For bipolar depression, though, things get spicy. Because rapid circadian shifts can trigger mania. And now, instead of being sleepy and sad, you're texting 19 people business ideas at 5 a.m. Signs like racing thoughts, impulsivity, and irritability mean the treatment may be overshooting. That's why protocols for bipolar cases often include lithium therapy or another mood stabilizer. Because the line between therapeutic wakefulness and accidentally becoming the CEO of nonsense is thinner than people think. What makes this whole topic so strange is that depression lies to you in a way that feels intuitive. It says, you're tired because you need more sleep. But sometimes you're tired because the sleep itself is part of the disorder. The oversleeping feeds the sluggish circadian cycle. The delayed mornings reduce morning light exposure. The delayed light exposure worsens the body clock. The body clock disruption worsens fatigue. And then the whole thing loops. It's the world's least fun feedback system. So no, more sleep is not always better. Sometimes the fix is less sleep, stricter wake times, insomnia treatment strategies, morning sunlight, non-pharmacological therapy, consistent circadian cues, movement before noon, and occasionally weaponized sleep deprivation supervised through psychiatric treatment, which is a deeply funny sentence to say out loud. Because on paper, the cure for feeling exhausted might be sleeping less sounds like something invented by a Silicon Valley CEO who drinks mushroom coffee and thinks burnout is a personality trait. And yet, in the weird world of depression, hypersomnia, and circadian rhythm dysfunction, that's sometimes exactly how it works. The cruel joke is that depression turns your bed into the safest place in the universe. It stops being furniture. It becomes a bunker. A soft, warm, memory foam fortress where the outside world can't ask anything from you. No emails, no responsibilities, no awkward conversations, no pretending your mental health is fine, no forcing your face into socially acceptable facial expressions, just blankets, darkness, and the seductive promise that maybe 30 more minutes of sleep will finally fix the fatigue. But depression is sneaky, because while the bed feels like protection, too much time in it can slowly become part of the thing keeping you stuck. Every extra hour of excessive sleep pushes your sleep-wake cycle later. Your body clock starts drifting like a ship with no lighthouse. Morning turns into noon. Noon turns into afternoon. Suddenly, your first exposure to daylight is at 2 p.m., which is basically telling your suprachiasmatic nucleus, honestly, just freestyle it. Now, your circadian rhythm loses its strongest anchor, morning light exposure. Without that anchor, melatonin release shifts later. Your serotonin-related mood regulation gets sloppier. Your neurotransmitter secretion timing gets messy. Your energy curve flattens. Your daytime tiredness increases. And then, the emotional fog starts thickening. Not dramatically, not in some cinematic, everything goes black kind of way. More like life slowly gets wrapped in psychological bubble wrap. Everything feels duller. Your thoughts move slower. Your limbs feel heavier. Even simple tasks start feeling like they require a permit. Replying to a text feels like paperwork. Taking a shower feels like an Olympic event. Standing up feels negotiable. And this is where the trap gets genius. Because the worse the fatigue gets, the more convincing the lie becomes. Your brain says, see, you're still tired. Clearly you need even more sleep. So what started as just catching up on rest becomes 10 hours. Then 11, then 12, then naps, then sleeping through entire afternoons, and somehow you still wake up feeling like gravity increased specifically for your skeleton? Like someone replaced your bloodstream with wet cement. At that point, it may not be that you need more rest. It may be that your circadian rhythm needs rescuing. Because depression-related hypersomnia isn't always about lack of sleep. Sometimes it's about mistimed sleep. Badly timed sleep can wreck mood regulation far more than slightly reduced sleep with a stable rhythm. That's why some of the most effective non-pharmacological therapy approaches focus less on getting more sleep and more on waking at the same time. Getting immediate sunlight, reducing daytime naps, controlling bedtime drift, stabilizing the biological pacemaker, rebuilding the morning routine, and forcing your brain to relearn when day actually starts. Which is frustratingly boring advice. No life hack, no secret supplement, no magic antidepressant effect tea, just light, timing, movement, and consistency. The 4 horsemen of things depressed people least want to hear. And weirdly, the first step is often getting out of bed earlier than your depression wants. Not because you suddenly feel motivated, not because your brain agrees, but because sometimes recovery starts before the feeling of recovery arrives. You don't wait until you feel energetic to fix the rhythm. You fix the rhythm so energy has a chance to come back. That's the brutal paradox. Your emotions say, stay in bed until you feel better. But biology says, get up so you can feel better. And unfortunately, biology wins this one because healing often starts with doing the exact opposite of what depression makes feel safe. Open the curtains, let the light in, confuse your melatonin, bully your body clock back into civilization, and little by little, the fog can start to lift. Not instantly, not magically, but enough that mornings stop feeling like a punishment, enough that your mind feels clearer, enough that your body stops feeling like it was assembled incorrectly, enough that sleep becomes rest again instead of escape, which, unfortunately, is where recovery often begins. If you enjoyed this, do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more casually explained psychology videos, because apparently, even your sleep schedule needs a reboot.